Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. I've got it really zoomed in today for a little set of cards I picked up. This is not tarot cards or anything of that nature. Something that I struggle with when cooking is that I never really know kind of what seasonings to use for what dishes. And I picked this up in hopes that it might help me kind of figure that out and be a somewhat useful kitchen tool. Upon further inspection, I'm not sure how much it's going to be useful. However, it's still pretty. I figured it would make kind of a good little video in case anyone sees this and wants to pick it up for themselves, just to kind of know what the contents more are in detail and better evaluate how useful it might be for you in your kitchen. So this is what the box looks like. It does hinge open on the top. On the back here, it just says, fill your kitchen with herbs. Create a living trove of fresh flavors to enhance your cooking and boost your health. Organized by potential uses, this practical card deck will help you grow and use 60 herbs in inventive ways, from stunning botanical cocktails to delicious homemade pesto. It gives you some examples here of what the cards kind of look like. We'll open it up. And you can see inside here, it's separated into the various uses. So we've got, let me push that down. Cook, bake, drink, make and do, and use fresh. And then each section of cards is color coded to go with the card that's in front. So the cook section is all green. You can see at the top here, all the cards are flagged green. This card was in the front. It's how to use. This deck features 60 culinary plants to help you build your own treasury of flavors and fill your kitchen with herbs. The cards are organized into 5 categories to encourage you to experiment with herbs in different ways. Cook, bake, drink, make and do, and use fresh. Use the cards for inspiration as well as for practical tips for both growing and using herbs. Explore the deck in any way that suits you. You may enjoy flicking through the categories and selecting cards that interest you, or picking out your favorites to put on display. Many herbs can be used across multiple categories, and you may wish to recategorize them or add your own notes and recipes as you go. Your deck will soon become a living trove of fresh flavors to enhance your cooking and boost your health. So I'll just kind of flip through a few in each category to give you a little impression of how it's structured. So here we have horseradish, and it gives you the Latin name and just common names. So Aromatica rusticana, aka pepperroot. And then on the back, it gives you kind of a definition, how to use it, how to grow it, and how to harvest it. For this specific example, horseradish is very difficult to eradicate from a garden once established, so it may be advisable to plant it in a deep pot to prevent its spread. Raise the pot on feet or other supports so that any roots emerging from the base can be cut off, as they are liable to penetrate any ground beneath, even paving. How to use. Although the young leaves can be eaten raw or, for a milder taste, wilted, it is for the pungent root that horseradish is generally grown. It can be preserved as horseradish sauce or drained, and is particularly good with meat, fish, and beetroot dishes. How to grow. Moist soil in partial shade is horseradish's preferred habitat. Any leaves that die off in autumn can be pulled off and composted. How to harvest. Pick young leaves in spring and summer. Roots can be harvested at any time of the year, but have their best flavor in autumn. Dig out the top 20 to 30 centimeters or 8 to 12 inches of root, or as much as can be extricated from the soil, and use promptly. It gives you the family of the plant. So in this instance, it's in the Brassicaceae family. So brassicas. It is a perennial. It can grow up to 1 meter or 39 inches in height. It can grow up to 1 meter or 39 inches wide. And it grows best in zone 6. That's its hardiness zone. So I did kind of have a flip through, and in this section is also lovage, which is something that I'm trying for the second year in a row to grow. And I know that it is hardy up to zone 4, which is my growing zone. But if I pull out the lovage card, you'll see the lovage card on the back says it's zone 6. So I found that really interesting. So it calls into question how reliable the information in these cards are, because if you Google it, it's very clearly stated that lovage can grow in zone 4. So that was kind of interesting. But aside from that, I'll just give you a look at some of the other ones in this section. We have caraway, mustard, cumin, turmeric, lemongrass, myrtle, lovage, French tarragon, fenugreek, marjoram, oregano, pepper, sage, rosemary, winter savory, thyme, and bay. Let's move on to the bake section. So in the bake section, we have Carolina allspice, citrus bergamot, cardamom, nutmeg, saffron, poppy. I wasn't expecting to see that. Aniseed, rose, and sweet violet. So let's see if these ones follow the same strategy or setup. So this says sweet violets are popular, were very popular in Victorian England, both to wear as a posy of flowers and as a source of perfume. But their cultivation as a crop dates back to at least 400 BCE in Greece. The species has deep purple flowers. For a white flower plant, you can look for V. orata, odorata, or alba. How to use. Young leaves can be added to salads or enjoyed in tea. The flowers can be infused into a sugar syrup used to make tea or candied for edible cake decorations. They are also pretty as cut flowers. Commercially, sweet violet oil is a component in perfumery and food flavoring. Parma violet confectionery is based on the scent of sweet violets. How to grow. Sweet violets prefer dappled to shade and moist to well-drained soil. They spread and colonize easily. Deadhead regularly to prolong flowering. How to harvest. Pick flowers and young leaves in spring as required. So here it's in the violet family. It's a perennial. It grows 15 centimeters or 6 inches tall and spreads 50 centimeters to 20 inches wide and is cold hardy to zone 6. So that's an example in the bake section. Next we have the drink section. This is one I planted last year, anise hyssop, or hyssop, depending on how you pronounce it. So they all do follow the same, have the same bullet points on the back. There's no customization based on category. We've got chamomile, lemon balm, mint, bergamot, elder, stevia, dandelion, Tasmanian mountain pepper, nettle, and ginger. Ginger grows well in a pot, making an attractive houseplant for cool, temperate climates. It is also a good border plant in hotter areas. A widely used spice, the fresh and dried roots have very different flavors, while stem ginger provides another taste again, but all are known for their reputed ability to stave off nausea. How to use. Fresh roots are added to curries, stir-fries, soups, meat and fish dishes, and preserves. The root can also be enjoyed juiced or sliced in tea, health drinks, and cordials. Dried root ginger is crystallized and balls of stem ginger are candied in syrup. Dried and ground ginger can be used in baking and spicy sauces. The leaves can be wrapped around fish for steaming or baking to add flavor. How to grow. Plant fresh rhizomes, roots, in well-drained, rich soil in full sun or partial shade. Ginger needs a highly humid atmosphere. Cut back dead leaves as necessary. How to harvest. Leaves can be cut as needed. Dig up roots and cut stem ginger at least 18 months after planting, or once it has reached a usable size. Retain some roots for replanting. Preserve by freezing or drying. Okay, so I'm noticing another thing, and you may have noticed when I was flipping through these, I stopped on the chamomile one. And it might have been cut off because of the way I was holding it when I was flipping them, but they've spelled it without an H. Which is super weird because down here, the Latin name, they clearly have the H. And it says, oh, okay, it says AKA chamomile with an H, and then it says Roman chamomile without the H. I was under the impression that both Roman and German chamomile were spelled the same, but apparently it is not. And apparently this is specifically referring to Roman chamomile, which is odd because usually when people think of chamomile traditionally, it's the German variety that people are growing for very specifically drink tea. I know that people do grow Roman. Yeah, see, this says perennial, so it is specific to Roman because German is an annual. So that's really interesting. I really never noticed that. I'm gonna have to like look it up now again to see if they spell it differently normally. Interesting. I think this is produced in the UK, so it might be like a weird spelling differences, but I'm in Canada and usually our spelling matches up with the European way, so interesting. Let's move on. Next we have the make and do section. So in this section we have electric daisy, which is not something I've ever heard of. Also known as the toothache plant, which sounds like something I may have heard of. Hops is something we grow here. English lavender. Comfrey. And clove. So this was an incredibly small section. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Interesting. So cloves were recorded as being popular across Europe and Asia around 2,000 years ago and remained an important spice in international trade. Having a clove in the mouth was a means of freshening the breath and also of helping a toothache. How to use. Whole cloves are a component of pickling and brining spice mixes. They can also be studded into an orange to make a pomander, a scented winter decoration historically carried to ward off unpleasant odors. Ground cloves are used in baked goods and preserves, particularly mincemeat and gingerbread. How to grow. Cultivate in well-drained, fertile soil in full sun. Clove can also be grown in a large pot as a house plant if given frost-free conditions and a sunny aspect, although it may not flower. Prune in spring to keep to size. Repot annually in fresh compost. How to harvest. Pick the unopened flower buds and dry before storing. Which is quite possibly the largest section, and it is use fresh. And of all the colors they could have used, for some reason they used green twice, and the shades are barely any different. There's like a chartreuse, almost yellow green, and then like a lime green. I don't know why they didn't use any of the other colors on the box. Pink. Weird. Odd choice. Okay, so our last section here, the use fresh section, we have chives, wild garlic, dill, chervil, celery leaf, borage, marigold, chicory, coriander, wasabi, fennel, basil, parsley, and sorrel. Oh, there's another one. Nasturtium. Nasturtium. My brain wants to say Nostradium, but I'm not sure what is the correct pronunciation. So definitely this is the largest section, which kind of makes sense. Most people use their herbs fresh. Let's take a look at basil. So Basil is commonly associated with Italian cooking, but it originates from Asia and Africa. Its essential oils, including anise, rose, thyme, and clove. The aroma is arguably better than the taste. Chef Heston Blumenthal devised a basil spray to mist the air around diners eating pizza. That's a weird factoid to throw in there and extremely British. How to use. Basil is often used to make pesto, and its leaves are also added to many other Italian dishes. Flowers can decorate savory and sweet dishes. Basil has religious connotations too. In Hindu cultures, it's grown for its protective influence on temples and the home. The branches can also repel insects, such as mosquitoes. How to grow. Plants require heat and plenty of sun, and in cool temperate climates are better grown under cover or on a sunny windowsill. They prefer light, free-draining soil. The annual species, most culinary basils, require resowing every year. Discard old plants. Tender perennials, such as African blue, can be overwintered in a heated greenhouse or in the form of cuttings. All can be encouraged into bushier growth by pinching out the growing tips. How to harvest. Pick fresh leaves and flowers as required. It definitely kind of wasn't what I expected it to be. I expected it more to be like, use these herbs with these dishes, or these pair well with these flavor profiles, like chives pair well with beef, and wild garlic pairs well with pork, and dill pairs well with duck, or like something like that. But it's more kind of just basic information, growing information if you want to grow it, kind of general use, how it's used, but not really instructions like a cookbook type of a deal, which is kind of more what I thought they would be. I thought they'd be like kind of recipe cards, but that's definitely not what they were. And it does show the back of the cards kind of. I don't know. I was just hoping there would be more more to it than what there was. But aesthetically, it is kind of nice if you wanted like some kitchen decoration or something to frame up. It could be good for that use, or just for a reference if you want to have it for like growing purposes, because it does tell you the general growing conditions and how big stuff gets, and overall kind of its natural grow zone. I'm guessing that's what that is. I don't know. The Lovage one really threw me, and the Chamomile one kind of threw me. So I'm a little bit skeptical, I guess. Always cross-reference. That's kind of what I'm learning from this. But yeah, so that's what this is. If you saw it hanging around a bookstore or something, then now you know what's inside. And you can pick it up if you want or not. And yes, I did put the birth candle, it's exact. So that's it. That is the Royal Botanic Gardens, A Kitchen Full of Herbs, a Practical Card Deck by Holly Farrell. Thanks for joining me here today, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.